where I start and Woody ends and where Woody starts and I end is a murky line. And we kind of have a comedic jive. And I remember going into this where he, was like, I think we need to look for some funny in here. And I'd be like, and he'd be like, see, like that. How you and I work, McConaughey, is I hit you the ball, you hit it back. I hit you the ball, you hit it back. But now I'm like hitting you the ball, and you're just standing there and letting it go by and sit still at the bottom of the fence and just staring at me. What the f? And I was like, my hunch is that might end up being kind of funny. Howdy, I am Matthew McConaughey, and this is a timeline of my career.
You gotta do what Randall Pink Floyd wants to do, man. And let me tell you this, the older you do get, the more rules are gonna try to get you to follow. You just gotta keep living, man. L-I-V-I-N.
I had a friend at NYU, Seth Robbins Bendler, who I had been sending short stories to and stuff, and he was at film school there. And he was writing back, look, you should go into storytelling. Maybe you should even get in front of the camera, man. You're good looking, you got character, And I was like, I don't know about that part, but this behind the camera part, maybe that. He gave me the confidence to decide that I wanted to do that. Then that led to the confidence to call my dad and tell him I wanted to change my course schedule, which I didn't think was gonna go well. That went splendidly well. And my dad told me that night, don't half-ass it if that's what you're gonna do. And went to film school. Learned a little bit, but then in that summer, between 92 and 93, which was between my junior and senior year, when I went to the right bar at the right time and met the right guy, Don Phillips, who then gave me a chance to read for the part of Wooderson in Dazed and Confused. Ended up getting that part, and 3 lines turned into 3 weeks' work.
Say, man, you got a joint?
No, not on me, man.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
I had about 2 weeks to prep and use my imagination, and it occurred to me that the man who said the launch pad line of that's what I love about those high school girls. I get older but stay the same age.
I get older, they stay the same age.
Was who I thought my brother was, my older brother, who was my hero, when I was 11 and he was 17. And we were going to pick him up at school because his car was broke down for some reason. My mom was looking for him, and we were, where's Pat? Where's Pat? He didn't meet us where he was supposed to meet us. And I was looking out the back window of our station wagon. There in the distance, in the silhouette under the smoking section, was this body leaning against a wall with the heel of a right boot up against the wall, and a little lazy 2-finger cigarette. And it was my brother. He looked 7 feet tall, cooler than James Dean, man. Wooderson was not who my brother was, but that image through my 11-year-old eyes were who Wooderson was. So this night on set, I do a wardrobe test. I get the peach pants on, I got the t-shirt, man, I got the pipe, I got the Black Panther tattoo, I got the blonde comb over, little stash, the boots, fries. Come out, Rick sees me. Linklater, the director, and he's like, great, Wooderson. He's circling me, kind of measuring me up. This looks great, this, that, and the other, no. I said, cool, man. Well, I'll see you in about a week, which was the scheduled day when I was supposed to come to work for the first time. And he goes, hang on a minute. Marissa Ribisi, who's the actress, is playing the redheaded intellectual. That's the last day of school. She's in the car with all her nerdy friends. You think Wooderson might be interested in, picking up the redheaded intellectual, I was like, yeah, man, Wooderson likes all kinds of chicks, And he laughed. Next thing you know, I'm in the car getting strapped up with a lavalier, about to go do the first scene, which didn't have a word written in it, which I recently found out just a couple years ago. Rick told me he had a story hole in his script that he needed to fill. And the scene of Wooderson going to pick up Marissa and talk about the party later, and you ditch the geeks in the back seat and ride with me, we're cool. Filled the story hole for him. First 3 words I said ever on film were that night when I pulled in my 70 Chevelle to go pick her up, and I gave myself the 3 affirmations of the things that I, Wooderson, did have: my car, rock and roll, and weed. All right. As I was going to get the 4th thing that I wanted, which was the redheaded intellectual. First 3 words I ever said on film. And they precede me, as you probably know today. I'm not even on camera. It's a wide shot above this Chevelle pulling through the parking lot. How and why those words ended up sticking out, I do not know, but I'm glad they did.
Do everyone a favor, though. Drop the case.
No, I can't. I won't, man. I'm not gonna quit. I quit now and all this for nothing, no.
I get this camera test. Schumacher did this camera test. It was over a place on Fairfax. It wasn't at a studio. And I remember he did this, it was real solid that he did for me because he goes, this way, word's not gonna get out that you did a camera test because no matter how good you do, you're probably not gonna get the part. And I don't want you starting your career with, oh, he failed at the screen test. So we're doing it here so no one will know. Thank you, Schumacher. I go in, I'm prepared for that. I do the final summation. I do the first take, bam, that was good. Connected the dots, told it well, but did any magic happen? No. And Joel goes, throw the script away. Throw everything was written, just throw it away. What would you say? What would you do? I dropped my guard and spoke and said things that would not be allowed in a courtroom. It affected me in a way where I kind of spoke more like a father that I was not yet in my real life. Imagining that was my daughter, that happened to her. And that's the take that he goes, no more, done. Okay, we're done here. Great job, and we'll see. And then I got a call 10 or so days later. I was in Piedras Negras working with John Sayles in the middle of the desert. It was about midnight. Got Joel Schumacher and John Grisham on the phone. That sounds like good news. You gonna play Jake Brigance? Fuck yeah, I do.
That little girl. Now imagine she's white.
You don't necessarily want to mark certain scenes that you think are special, but you know, reading that script, that has to work. That final summation has to work for that story to work. So I'd always had, even on my first read of that script, this has to work. That turn, when close your eyes, the timing, and then now imagine if she's white. That day, everyone caught their breath, I caught my breath, and when you see the movie, people still kind of catch their breath at that moment. And that's what Akiva wrote. That was the first scene we shot after lunch. Came back in, and I was ready for it. And Joel started to set up the wide shots. And I heard him saying, like, we'll shoot some wides, and then we'll ease into it and warm up to it, and then we'll get your close-up. And I just went like, And he goes, actually, nix that, we want that. We'll be shooting the close-up first, moving things in. And that take that's in the movie is the first take we did.
You experiencing any dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing?
The breathing thing rings a bell. Then again, you are on top of me cutting off my air supply.
Your mental clarity is excellent. That's good.
Rom-coms are creatively fulfilling, just in a different way. They fill a different category. They're built to be buoyant. You have a ceiling and a basement on like how mad or how much you can love or how happy you can get, and a basement on how mad you can get. They're compact on purpose. Boy meets girl, get along. One dupes the other one, they run. She runs away, but chases the girl in, we're out. We know that's going to happen in all of those somehow, but can we enjoy it? Can we enjoy that happening in different ways? And that's what a good, successful rom-com does, and I was fortunate to be a part of a few. I really enjoyed making those. Never have I poo-pawed the romantic comedies. But what I was needing and looking for at that time in my life, while I had just met the woman that I love, while she was now pregnant with our first child, which any father or parent knows how vital your life becomes at that time, I was saying, I'm glad my life feels more vital than my work, but boy, I'd like to find some work that is at least challenging the vitality of my real life. I was not getting that from the rom-coms. I felt like I could do them tomorrow. You can give me a script today, I can do this tomorrow. Nothing wrong with that. But I was wanting to be scared, shaking my boots, something like, whoa, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this role, but I can't wait to find out. That was in dramas. Those were not being offered to me. Hollywood said, McConaughey, stay in your lane. You're making great money in the rom-coms. We're making great money in the rom-coms. Everybody's happy. Why are you starting to tilt the boat here? Even my brothers were like, what's your major malfunction, Matthew? And I said, I'm not doing them anymore. It became very clear to me that if I couldn't do what I wanted to do, I needed to stop what I was doing. I let my agent and everybody know. I said, I'm not doing any more rom-coms. And it took a while for the industry to get that message across, as I turned down quite a few. And then it was nothing. Then it was code silence. As my agent at the time, Jim Toth, said after about 8 months in, he goes, Matthew, I haven't seen or heard your name in months. I'm like, uh-oh. So then I'm like, all right, maybe I've just wrote myself a ticket out of Hollywood. What happened is after about 18, 20 months, I was gone long enough. I wasn't on your screen in a rom-com. I wasn't in People magazine on the, on the beach shirtless, which was also its own sort of rom-com genre going on, or at least a, surf comedy, right? After about 2 years, you hadn't seen me there. And all of a sudden, I became a new novel, good idea for, hey, what about Matthew McConaughey for the Killer Joe? They started coming. And those were things I was looking for and just voraciously bid on and gnawed at, and off I went.
Talking about my boat.
We found it.
Hey, you found it with me living in it. Possessions. 9/10 of the law.
You got crosses in your heels.
Nails. Shaped like crosses.
What for?
Ward off evil spirits.
This is also the beginning of what you had titled McConaughey songs.
I didn't tell that.
That's what you said in your memoir.
Shh. Well, I planted it. And the interviewer goes, that's a great title for it. That's it. Where'd you hear that? I go, oh, John Smith down there. He just brought it up in that last interview. I was playing with my marketeering skills.
What are you doing?
Try to never sleep in the same spot twice. What you got there?
Brought you some food. Here, take it.
Oh, I owe you boys. I was gonna try run a trot line this afternoon. See where that got me.
It wasn't about trying to break away from anyone's thought. It was about, this is what I want to do. I know who this man is. I understand this predicament. This is real drama. And a real drama allows you, when I was talking about rom-coms having a ceiling and a basement, real drama is about there is no ceiling, there is no basement. How do you feel about it? Laugh as loud as you want, hate as much as you want, love as hard as you can love. Let me see you. That's what a drama allows. There's nothing to compress. It was a wonderful character, a real romantic. It was a beautiful love story. Aristocrat of the heart, Mud was.
I need to get this letter to Juniper. Can you take it to her for me?
Yeah.
All right, now listen up. You gotta be careful, all right? You can't just walk up and knock on her door, you hear me? You gotta watch yourself.
I can handle it.
I knew that place and that world and that relationship with him and the boys and a boat in a tree, the magic reality of it all. I was like, what beautiful story to be a part of. I never had in my mind, this is going to make everyone think differently of me. I never thought that. Even when I first started with the Killer Joe and the Lincoln Lawyer and all, I never was doing an anti. I was never revenge. I was never like, watch this. I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And then I was very affirmative with going forward there. I was doing it for me. They ended up being creative enough or successful enough that even something like Killer Joe popped its head above the indie waterline and was like, there's something interesting here. Well, you hate the movie, love the movie. It was like, it got a little bit of notoriety about it. It went for it, whatever it went for. And so I was a part of movies that were taking big swings, and some of them were landing to a certain extent, and my roles were landing to a certain extent. So that happened as a circumstance of me doing what I wanted to do, that all of a sudden it was like, okay, you flipped the script. Definitely not just rom-com guy anymore, McConaughey.
Look around. You tease. You seduce. Clock eyes, but don't lock in on any of them. You gotta believe that you are inside every single one. When the time's right, you'll know it. Boom! Stick it.
It was great. He sold me on it. One, the fact that he called and I wanted to work with him, I was really excited that he called. And then I remember I said, Stephen, I said, I remember the script, this sounds great, but can you give me one line that I can just hang up this phone call and just have in my mind so it can kind of float around in my mind until I get the script. And he paused, he goes, well, this character, Dallas, man, he's pretty connected to the UFOs, man. And I just started laughing, and that was in the phone call. Now, what a great thing to tell an actor for first line, because talk about no roof, talk about no ceiling with imagination. My imagination took off sprinting up and out. There's no conservation off of that line. Like, oh, okay, let's open the aperture for whatever's to come. And so the imagination went wild, and then it all scene are sort of laid right into the script and who this sort of very capitalist leader of this dance club was.
Some blood tests.
What kind of blood test? I don't use drugs.
We didn't test your blood for drugs.
I'm good. Ain't none of y'all's business either.
That's right. You've tested positive for HIV, which is the virus that causes AIDS.
You fucking kidding me?
When I'm talking about every character has a monologue, I got the monologue from this guy before he was diagnosed with HIV. There was an entry of Friday night. He's writing his day, he spent gas, he drove here, he drove there, he filled up his tank with $5 of gas. He figures he's got this many more miles for the weekend, and maybe he'll swing by and see so-and-so, you know. Here comes Sunday, and he's pressed his pants, and he's got his shirt pressed. He's got new batteries in his pager, because tomorrow morning he's driving across town, and he's got to hook up some speakers for this house. And he's excited about it. Clothes are laid out, alarm set, getting to bed early, got some purpose, only to wake up and find out that the people where he had the job had canceled. You could just see the deflation, because he would have these, I got purpose, I got plans, and then it would flutter off into, and his night just turned into a bit of a no plan. And then you see him try to come back up with an idea or a plan and not really be able to follow through on it. So that said a lot about the world, whether you see that literally on screen or not. That's a lot of the subtext that gives an actor so much of an engine with which to move, listen, see, and hear from, you know?
This is my patient. You treating these people?
Oh, they're treating themselves.
With what?
Vitamins, peptide T, DDC, anything but that poison you're hawking. So you ever wear any color? Seems like every time I see you, all I see is white. You got white coat, white shoes, white
Tell
office.
Rayon I was looking for him, and I am telling my patients to stay away from here.
Ron's hungry. Remember, Ron's got the greatest obstacle in the world that he's fighting to overcome, and that's death. And boy, when you can find a character that's what they need, the need to survive is paramount, because the highest obstacle in their face every day is death is at their doorstep. We'll talk about drama, where there's no ceiling about how hard you'll fight or how much you'll hate or how much you're willing to live for. That's that personal to everybody. So drama, you really do get to bring yourself to a character more than in other genres. He's a coyote. He wasn't a wolf. He was a coyote, man. And coyotes will, they get trapped, they'll gnaw their own leg off to get out of the trap. That's how hungry he was to survive, to beat this thing, and also kind of became a successful businessman in it.
Stay at the end of the bed. $10 minimum.
Be my guest.
All right, Miss Ma'am, what you got?
Full house. Jack's over threes.
Well, I'd have figured you for Queens, motherfucker.
Sorry, darling.
Yeah, that was just my responsibility to the role. That size, and which I often miss sometimes, being that way, because boy, the memory in the brain was so acute. I needed 3.5 hours less sleep at night than I do now at that weight. And my mind was just so sharp. Wasn't that easy to be around. My wife is like, will you please have a freaking glass of wine? Take the edges off, buddy. Okay, I was just vociferously hungry and acutely sharp in my mind.
Not everybody wants to sit alone in an empty room beating off the murder manuals. Some folks enjoy community, the common good.
Yeah, well, if the common good's got to make up fairy tales, then it's not good for anybody.
You know what I discovered is that my faith was strong. It was very easy for me to inhabit Rustin Cole's head and heart and spirit, which, I don't know, I don't think belief in the divine prime mover or God was in that. But because my faith was strong before going into Rustin, it was easy to turn my back on my own faith and go full bore with Russ down that philosophical, agnostic, or even atheist sort of belief into that man's mind and soul, and trust that when it was over, come back and my faith will still be there.
It's just one story. The oldest.
Okay.
Light versus dark.
Well, I know we ain't in Alaska, but it appears to me that the dark has a lot more territory.
Woody and I had worked together before on Ed TV and then Surfer Dude, and then in real life, where I start and Woody ends and where Woody starts and I end is a murky line, and we kind of have a comedic jive. And I remember going into this where he, was like, I think we need to, look for some funny in here. And I'd be like, and he'd be like, see, like that. How you and I work, McConaughey, is I hit you the ball, you hit it back. I hit you the ball, you hit it back. But now I'm like hitting you the ball, and you're just standing there and letting it go by you and sit still at the bottom of the fence and just staring at me. What the fuck? And I was like, my hunch is that might end up being kind of funny. And he was like, oh. Now we look back and I think we actually to some extent did pull that off. And you hear his frustrations with me, which becomes almost the audience's frustrations, like, what the fuck did he just say? What is Rusty Cole spitting? Will you please, so there actually became some levity through that. And that was the difference in our working relationship.
Murphy still grabbed his car. She crashed it. She's okay though. Hey, Dad. Look at this. Your grandpa. His name's Jesse.
I remember we shot those a Monday morning, and it was the first scene up. And I'd gotten good rest that weekend, and I had a pretty humble, good weekend. But everything was with my family. I came in, and similar to that final summation with Joel Schumacher, I remember we got in, and Nolan was going to set up some wides. They were about to play the tape. Let's rehearse the tape. I went, And I remember, I think I had a note. I'd written, see you first, please. And I think I handed it to Chris, and I was like, what? All of a sudden, things came over, and cameras were there, and we played the tape. And again, it was that first take that's the one we use.
You once told me that when you came back, we might be the same age. And today, I'm the age you were when you left. This might be a real good time for you to come back.
I didn't have to go to a place. I did think about, and I did try to understand, what if today you went to work and you were gone for 10 years? And when, Casey Affleck and Chastain come on, I was older, and the way the gap, the dread of having to miss that in my own life with my own kids, I just reacted. Which is what I've learned I like to do if there's scenes like that. Because I've consistently tried to, let's just do that first take. Because everything after take one is acting, for real. We can improve, as actors, we can improve stuff in take two. I can't do, but everything after take one, if you're fully relaxed and just reacting, everything after take one is acting. I didn't want to know what was coming. And I want to just, that's all about relaxing then. And that's just me relaxing, and then what happens happened.
There are 23 kids who are stranded. Is there anybody in the area that can pick them up? Is there anybody that can go and pick these kids up?
And that's one thing Paul's so good at. He loves claustrophobic spaces with something massively dangerous and epic outside encroaching, a predator, a killer, in this case, a fire. Look, that bus seat and driving that bus, that was my own. I did all the bus driving. I didn't never like getting out of that seat. I felt great right there. So it was a very comfortable space. There's nowhere to go. So much is internal. Movements are small. Every breath is precious, air is precious. Heat, over exhaustion, all these things, while trying to maintain a sense of belief and hope that there might be a way out, because if we quit, if we lay down, if we concede, we're gonna die. And I'm the one driving this bus. No, can't think that way. And that's all got to happen in a small space. So while everything is beating you down physically and mentally, spiritually, which I think you had to keep believing there might be a way out, or finally is sitting here and just waving the white flag the way out, which we kind of think it is until fire! Oh shit. And drive, sometimes get through hell, you got to drive right down the throat of the dragon to get to the other side of it. When I told my dad that I didn't want to go to law school and go to film school, and he paused and said, "Are you sure that's what you want to do, son?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "All right, well, don't half-ass it." That launch pad that he gave me there to do Dazed and Confused, he had a heart attack and moved on from this life 5 days into shooting Dazed and Confused. So his life actually overlapped me getting to start what, hell, I didn't know might just be a hobby. No, but it wasn't a hobby. His life overlapped me finally beginning something that turned out to be a career. There's grace in that. That I've always looked at as amazingly graceful. So he was alive. He didn't come to set, but he got to see me start and be alive for seeing his son start something that was more than a fad. It was more than a hobby. That became a career that his son loves.